Well, welcome back to another episode of Realities May Vary, the show that really is funny before we get started. I don't know what happens once we go, but man, that's Cody Gough, as always. He's wearing a hat tonight, turned backwards because it's 1996.
Because I didn't shower.
I wondered what was going on with your frat boy aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
I didn't shower, and I look like crap, and my hair looks even worse. So,
wow,
I'm wearing
this is how we started last week with you having problems with your hair.
Could be.
I don't know what's yeah, it was. That's weird.
Well,
I
welcome Brian Noonan to Realities May Vary, a educational podcast wherein we talk about both realities and their variants within, across, and sometimes inside of.
Well, listen, I love the way you did that because I know you're not a science communicator, and that's evident right now after everybody heard that. But I wanted to talk to you because I wanted to talk to you for a number of reasons. But when last we left, you were getting ready to virtually head to Las Vegas instead of being in Las Vegas yourself for the Consumer Electronics Show, which still happened. But you were doing some TED Talks or running some symposiums or doing some sort of technological mud wrestling. What were you doing?
Yeah, I was moderated a few tech panels on cutting edge technology, and so
cutting edge technology.
It's a materials company. They're manufacturing, right? But they manufacture and do a lot of R&D with like semiconductor chips and liquid crystal displays. They supply a lot of the materials used to make screens of everything. You look at your TV, your computer screen, your phone screens, like all those is
nice.
Very gigantic multinational corporation, but they have, for some reason, a couple of years ago, they invited my Curiosity Daily co-host Ashley and me to moderate some panels and get people talking about some of the new and emerging technology. So yes, they decided at the 11th hour to cancel their in-person attendance at the event, which is understandable because hundreds of companies did. And we just did it virtually, and it was fine. I think it went well. It's I'm a live event energy, feed off the energy kind of person. And it's always easier when you're in the same room as somebody. But I think that we, fortunately, both Ashley and I were very well equipped to do it. Not everybody's like you and me, Brian. Not everybody's got a mic set up and a cool background. And
that's true.
And the skills to communicate behind the scenes. We got a window open talking to these experts. I got a window with an outline of questions they want me to get to. I've got my chat window open with Ashley, talking to her, making sure we don't talk over each other. Who's got the next question? Oh, do you have a follow-up? Oh, I've got a follow-up. I'll pass it to you after this. Calling audibles like, oh, this person hasn't talked in a while. Can you go to them next? Okay. And then we got the actual client is another chat window in another meeting, sending us messages. Hey, we got a listener question. Can you throw this in there for this person? And then, oh, the feed's not working. And then me typing, and I'm like, oh, well, shoot, should I tell them to stop for a minute? They're like, no, we're recording this live. It'll be fine. Just keep going. So a lot of stuff, you know how it is.
I do.
You do a lot of this stuff. It's all this stuff's flying at you, right? So like maybe the finished product. My only worry is that some people at the client may watch it and say like, well, that was easy. That they did fine. They weren't doing a lot because you don't see a lot of that behind the scenes stuff.
That's the key. Well, the key is making it look easy. I mean, I've always said that. You've always said that. Many smart people have said that. If people look at sometimes what you do or what we do and that anybody can do that. And we saw when we used to do overnights and they would bring everybody in because they were like, well, anybody could do a 4-hour show in the middle of the night. Oh, really? Okay. That's cool. Fast forward to 20 minutes into the show when they burned through every topic that they think they had that they thought was going to be a huge hit. So yeah, it's good that you made it look easy. I understand your concern, but all it takes is them to try to do one event and then go, oh, that wasn't as easy as it looked.
Yeah.
So what now? I've for years I've heard of the Consumer Electronics Show. I've had people on the shows over the years, guests is it all just TVs and computers? It's anything that's electronic that a consumer might buy. Like, would it be webcams? Would it be dongles for the iPads? Would it be all that kind of stuff?
Oh, cars are a huge part of it.
Really?
The concept cars. And I'm not a car person. I barely know what color my car is. But yeah, all the big companies bring these concept cars, and it'll look like a sofa inside a dome, and it's like, this will be automated in the future. You never see it. It's so stupid. I think the car thing is the dumbest part of CES. I think the cars are so stupid and unrealistic. And I've been to CES a couple times. I have never seen a car on the road ever showcased at a CES. If someone's going to fact check me and be there like, oh, there's like a million, but there's just some stupid stuff. And there's always like 800,000 photographers, often from Japan, huge car manufacturer, obviously Japanese cars are huge, right? And Germany, of course, but you've got about 85,000 Japanese and German photographers, taking a zillion pictures, and they're swarmed around these insane cars that just look so stupid. I'm not all for that, but yeah, to answer your question more broadly, artificial intelligence stuff, everything from podcast microphones to massage chairs to phone cases, like hundreds of vendors just selling like different kinds of phone cases and phone peripherals and accessories and charger cables. And
I like that you just said phone peripherals.
Phone peripherals, yeah.
Like, I would know what that meant.
A lot of Bluetooth speakers. I mean, but pretty much everything from your charging cable up to, $750,000 cars that will never be actually invented, to computer stuff. And then a lot of the visual display stuff is really big, because you need to see that in person, right? You can't buy a TV online and know how it looks. You walk into Best Buy and QLED versus OLED, 8K versus 4K, all that. So it's the whole gamut, I would say.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah. So you did these two, you did them, two of them this year?
2 days.
How upset were you that you didn't get to go to Vegas?
Well, my wife and I were going to go on. Well, she was going to meet me there Friday. We were going to make a date weekend of it, but obviously,
it's dirty.
We could have gone, but all right. So there's Omicron, right? That's bad.
There is Omicron, and it's getting. Well, it depends. I will say I'm not at liberty to name names, but someone in my immediate family caught the Omicron.
Oh,
yes.
Well, but everybody is, right?
Not everybody. I've been testing like a lunatic. I haven't gotten it. You still haven't gotten it.
That I know of.
So that's 2. Yeah, that I know of. But yeah, I mean, it is everywhere. You see what it's doing to schools. You see what it's doing to hospitals. Today, I always have my eye on New Orleans, watching what's happening, especially since we decided we weren't going to go to Mardi Gras this year because of COVID. And the numbers in New Orleans are shooting up crazy. So they went back starting tomorrow morning at 6 to an indoor mask mandate, because they tried since October to go, hey, folks, how about you voluntarily mask up and when you're indoors? And then Omicron hit, because they were really good during the first wave. Mm-hmm. They were pretty good during Delta. Then when Delta started to wane a little bit, they were like, okay, well, our numbers are in good shape. Let's count on the intelligence of the public to keep everybody safe. Unfortunately, the public, as we know, is not intelligent.
No.
And so because of that, the numbers are going up. And while the intensive care units aren't as slammed as before, the hospitals are still slammed. The cases have gone up eightfold in the last week in New Orleans. So they're going to an indoor mask mandate today. And we saw that now in Chicago, there's an indoor mask mandate. People are very upset. There's a vaccine mandate. Everybody's upset. But so, yes, to your point, yes, Omicron is there, and it's everywhere. It's lurking.
Tim,
could be on my water bottle.
Right. So if I did a personal risk assessment, like, we feel pretty good about our good, healthy baby who was consuming breast milk the first time my wife had COVID, and thus probably there's some degree of resistance, right? It accelerated above, just being a healthy,
he is child, a healthy baby. Yeah.
Healthy, large child, right? Like, is Omicron gonna kill my son? Like 0% chance, right? Like really 0% chance. That has a baby died of Omicron?
I don't know. I'm
I
not
don't
gonna.
think
I'm
that
not.
they have.
I'm not tempting fate by
All right. Well,
throwing out weird percentages about your son's mortality.
right. No. All right.
Not me. I'm not doing it.
What I'm saying is my wife and I also fully vaccinated and boosted. She's had it before. I mean, but my immediate health and safety was not necessarily a deal breaker with the Vegas thing. Like
Right.
we have gotten on a plane and felt like reasonably safe doing so? I think so. I really do. Like in this, and that's a personal choice. And I know that not everyone will agree. But I, as objectively as I could look at it, I would have been fine. The thing was that, first of all, flights are just a total crapshoot right now.
Yeah, there's
one,
not even the disease. Are they going to happen?
Right.
Are you going to get to the airport and be stuck for 3 days? Are you going to fly out to Vegas and not be able to get back? And then all the rental cars are gone, and you got to rent some sort of horse and buggy to come east, young man.
Well, and then when we get to Vegas, what's the quality going to be like, right? So all the casinos are going to be masks the whole time. That's kind of sucks. It sucks, right? Going out with masks compared to not. You should do. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't, it shouldn't be required, but it's not as fun. So I'm less likely to want to go out if that's a mandate, right?
Right.
Then there's we wanted to take a tour of something, go see a show of something. Well, those could get canceled at the drop of a hat. And with the fact that it was getting exponentially worse before CES, I was just like, you know what? If we go through with this plan, if we even get to Vegas, we could get there and have nothing to do. And it's going to cost us an arm and a leg. So, we got like 5 weddings this year. We can use the money elsewhere. So we decided to just, we'll do Vegas and later, I guess.
Yeah. It's hard because I don't want to live. I'm not living in fear. I'm out doing what I do. And
you're vaccinated.
I'm vaccinated. I got the booster. Unfortunately, the immediate family member who got it also vaccinated and boosted. Also in good health. So
is your family member doing okay?
My family member is doing okay. It was rough. It was a rough couple days. Then they took an at-home test. They got some at-home tests because they're not here. I'm in week number 2 of being all by myself, just me and the dogs. And so Debbie and Molly are in North Carolina, and one of them was not feeling well. And so they finally decided that they should get some sort of test. Well, you can't, just like here, you can't just you can't make an appointment and go to Walgreens or something and get a test. It's like a week's wait to get a test. And I don't even know if they have any of the shady pop-up joints down there that they do up here. But they were calling around, and they got real lucky because they called this one Walgreens near my sister-in-law's house and asked if they had any at-home tests. And the woman was like, oh, we're actually just unpacking the boxes right now. And Debbie said, if we drive over, will there be some when we get there? And the woman was like, yeah. So she and Molly went. They both got 4 boxes because that was the amount you could. And there's 5 people at the house. So everybody took a test. 4 of the 5 people negative. 1, the line on the test turned red immediately. And yes. And so they had already had symptoms for a couple days and just thought it was like a sinus infection. So that was but they're fine now, and they should be, now that with the whole thing, after 5 days, if you don't have symptoms, just go out and wear a mask.
Yeah.
So basically like everybody else. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You just, you go on and but I'm like you, it's like a threat assessment. You go, all right, like with Mardi Gras. All right, Debbie and I are both vaxxed and boosted. But we're going to be in a sea of thousands of people. And despite the indoor mask mandate, on a parade route and at parades and all the normal Mardi Gras tomfoolery, there's a really good chance that most masks will not be on.
Of course.
And that's just, you're begging for it then. It's, at that point, you deserve to get it because you're just flipping off science and the world and going, yeah, you know what? I know it's out there. I don't care. I'm going without a mask. Now, I have a very festive Mardi Gras mask, and I probably could have scored a couple more down there. but I also enjoy drinking on the streets and hollering during parades and smoking cigars wearing a kilt and a jester hat. So probably not the safest environment. So I did my threat assessment, and Debbie actually did it first. She had made the decision that we weren't going. And I was like, well, we could still, and I don't, maybe. No, we're not going. I called the crew. They said we could roll our dues over to next year.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So we're going next year. But now I'm looking at May, because I said to her, I need some New Orleans time. I need it in my soul. So I'm thinking of going for my birthday, which is only really a month after Mardi Gras. So
yeah.
So I don't know, and that's not good. I'm looking at hotels, and they all have free cancellation and everything, so there's no financial risk for me saying that we're, making reservations to go. But depending on the numbers and how the next month goes, I don't even know. One crew already canceled their parade because of people bowing out. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Where do you book? How do you book? Direct? You through a site?
It depends. I go through the sites, and then before I book on the site, I go to the hotel direct.
Yeah.
And I look there to see if I can beat the deal.
Right.
But
I ask because you mentioned free cancellation. I've used a number. I used to use Hotel Tonight a lot.
Oh, is that the last minute place?
It supposedly is the last minute place. We can book out as long as you want. Thing is, generally you don't get to choose your room. They'll just say, they pick a room for you.
Right.
So for romantic getaways with my wife, I prefer to book, know what room I'm getting, right? I don't want two queens. I want a king.
Right. Because you are the king.
Because I'm the king.
And you're going to take care of the queen.
I'm the king. Right. So I haven't used Hotel Tonight recently, though I highly recommend it if you're not picky about your room type. But lately I've been using booking.com. Supposedly has some really good, especially for Vegas prices.
Yep.
And hotels.com. And hotels.com, same deal. I booked a hotel. I got a full refund for Vegas. There was another hotel. There's another hotel I've got booked for like March, free cancellation until like 2 days before the event. You know? So
yeah,
love it.
I was looking on hotel. I looked on both booking. Well, thankfully we had decided we weren't going to Mardi Gras, because I booked a room for Mardi Gras through bookings.com. I booked it in last April for this February.
Wow.
Yeah. In order to not be paying, I was still paying way more than I like to pay for a hotel room, but it's Mardi Gras, so it was in the manageable for Mardi Gras range for rooms, and it was right in the quarter, or right across Canal Street from the quarter. Saturday, I'm sitting alone with the dogs, drinking coffee and lamenting my life choices. And I get an email from bookings.com saying, your reservation has been canceled. And I text Debbie, I go, hey, because I was going to do it. We had up until like 2 days before Mardi Gras to cancel it. I texted Debbie, I go, hey, did you cancel our hotel? She's like, no, why? Because it got canceled. I immediately called the hotel. And the guy who answered was very nice. He's like, I'm sorry, sir. I've gotten about 20 calls because of this morning. There was some sort of mistake. This is the wrong hotel. So you have to call booking.com or call the new owner's phone number. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to, why bother? Right? Because I'm not going anyway. Why bother? But you know me, I can't let stuff go. It was all day. It was gnawing at me. Why'd they cancel my reservation? So I'm up here doing some other stuff, and I decide I'm going to call booking.com. So I call and I get some guy. I don't know where he was located. I'm guessing it wasn't Cleveland. Very nice, but he's like, oh, sir, yes, I see that. I'm so very sorry. We had to cancel a lot. It seems, according to the hotel, there's no electricity or water in New Orleans. And I said, well, I know this isn't your fault, so I'm not angry with you. But I know people in New Orleans, and there is power and water down there. Everything's open for business. They were saying the hurricane that happened back, that there was still no electricity from the hurricane in August, Hurricane Ina. And I'm like, that's not true. This was the one time I knew, I was confident that I had the right information. He goes, you know what? Hold on, sir. I'm going to call there. Will you hold on? I will call the hotel. I said, okay, that's fantastic. Thank you. I'll hold. What's the number if we get disconnected? Is it your number that you're calling on? Yes. All right. So I wait. And now it doesn't take, you would think, man, this whole thing's going to take like 4 hours. He was gone maybe 5 minutes. And he comes back. He's like, oh, Mr. Bryant, I'm very sorry. Thank you for your patience. I talked to the hotel. And yes, they do have power and water, but there's still damage from the hurricane. And so they had to cancel a bunch of rooms. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you. I appreciate you checking, blah, blah, blah. So then I think the hotel is full of crap. Well, I go to their website and I'm looking, and no dates that I put, there's no rooms available for any dates I'm putting in. And I'm jumping, a month behind, earlier, a month later. So maybe they did get ravaged during the hurricane. But it sounds like somebody else bought them and they're remodeling. And so they're just shutting it down.
Well, I interviewed for a job on Monday with this company this production company, because I've been shopping around for other for work recently.
Yeah.
And they have a New York office. It's two floors in a building in New York City, right? And I asked, it was funny because LinkedIn said the job was remote. And then I went and read the thing right before the interview, and their website is like, to join us in our New York office. I'm like, all right.
Uh-oh.
So I get to the end of this interview. It went fine. It wasn't a job I'm super interested in anyway, but I call them, this was just a couple days ago. And we're talking, and I was like, so how have you been handling the whole COVID thing, the pandemic deal? And she talks a little bit, and I'm like, so you're all remote right now? She's like, yeah, we've been remote since last March. I was like, okay. And she's like, but yeah, we had 2 stories, and we closed one, so we're going to consolidate into one, big open floor plan. There might be meeting rooms, we'll see. But new ventilation system, new HVAC, it'll be all COVID safe, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. We want people on probably like once a week. What was funny to me about this is that she was like, yeah, but construction was supposed to be done by now, but there's just a massive labor shortage in New York City, so no one can get any construction done. So maybe that's the deal. Maybe that's the deal. This hotel is going under renovations. They thought would be done this month, and they are pushed back to June. And the other thing she said was, oh, but they might be able to finish in February, but we're probably not going to go back into the office when it's done anyway, with the Omicron thing. So it'll probably be another few months. I'm just
God.
Does it never end? Does this push for corporate America to go back into the offices of yesterday, does it never end?
I was hoping, to answer your question, I was hoping people would wise up and say, hey, you know what? We don't really need this.
Yeah. I feel like, and I was going to just asterisk that, because I feel like every time I talk about this on Twitter or on the show, people are like, some jobs you got to go into work. I get it.
We know
one of my
that.
best friends is a doctor in Madison. He's got to go to work. I get it.
Got to go to work.
There are jobs where you sit on your computer almost all day and do things on your computer almost all day. Guess where you can get on a computer? Literally anywhere. Mm-hmm. Outer space, under the ocean, literally anywhere. You're right, Mike. Yes, in the chat, companies would save so much money if they dumped the real estate. I don't understand it. I was asked to physically move into an office recently in order to accommodate some new job responsibilities. And I was like, no, I'll give more on that story next month.
All right.
But at the same time, so I was asked to do this like 3 months ago. Every office has been reclosed until March because of the pandemic. So it's like, oh, you wanted me to go somewhere else? So I was physically near an office that's going to be closed for the next 6 months? That's what you wanted me to do, at least, right? I'm getting very frustrated with the lack of flexibility. And I think it's racist. and classist and discriminatory
Wow.
necessarily. I do. I think that these New York people, mostly New York and LA, these coast people that have their heads up their asses, who think that they can just work, have anybody work for them that they want to. People that live in New York City are one type of person, and that is not like there's a total distinct lack of diversity that automatically entails, because they have to have the ability to live in one of the most expensive places in the country. And they are living in a certain limited amount of space. Like, you get more diverse quality job candidates if you can get somebody from anywhere in the country. Like me having a backyard in Chicago and a car where I drive places and see family and stuff.
Weird.
Gives me a significantly different perspective than someone living in their apartment, which is the size of the office that I'm in right now. And hasn't owned a car in 14 years, which was me in Chicago. I'm not knocking that. That's a great lifestyle, but there's a homogenous nature to people that live in New York City or Los Angeles, as diverse as you want to tell me it is. It's homogenous compared to people, out in the middle of the country, like the Midwest, like Chicago. I get mad. I think it's an ivory tower, and they don't want anybody in it unless they're their physical neighbor and they can control them by being in their same little room as them. And I'm sick of it. I think it's crap.
There were all these articles when this, this whole pandemic started, all sorts of articles about productivity going up and bosses smartening up and realizing that they could have people work remotely and blah, blah, blah. And now they're not, because they're afraid, because, people are having too much fun working in their pajamas, and the bosses are buying into it. I know it's not that's the dumbest reason, but they also can't walk into your office and scream at you. You have to, you have to go on your Zoom call, and it makes no sense. I've said this a million times. Debbie and Molly never want to go back to an office. And I saw a study the other day that said about 50% of the workforce who has been working remotely never wants to go back.
How much? What percent?
50.
Yeah, I don't want to go back. I mean,
50%.
I would if there was a hybrid role in downtown Chicago and I had to go in 1 day a week, I would do it.
Oh, that would be yeah, that's fine.
It'd be fine. In fact, if I had a hybrid job and I had to go into a New York City office 1 day a month, I would take that.
Okay.
I would fly in. It's.
Oh yeah, if it's 1 day a month, you could fly in.
$100 round trip tops. New York's cheap. It's dirt cheap
to fly to, but once you get there, it's not.
Well, right. Uber
once you land, even getting from the airport to your office would cost you a fortune.
I would hope I would get a corporate card to handle some of the travel, but at a reasonable expense, especially if I'm making a New York salary or a New York level salary, that'll even that out, right? But yeah, okay, you lose a couple days a month of income maybe with that kind of stuff, but I'd still do that. There's a balance, right, to be struck. But I think the balance should very much be towards wherever you're spending the most time. And I've been reading studies and reading a lot about the work stuff about how it's harder to do hybrid, because you've got to have all your stuff set up in two places.
Right.
So any files you've got, any recording equipment, all that, you're either doubling your overhead or you've got to transport it constantly. I have a comfortable setup here with my standing desk, my 2 monitors, my keyboard. Do I replicate that at the office?
No, what they would have to do is just go, your hybrid responsibility is once every bi-weekly or bi-monthly, you come in for meetings. So we do face-to-face, but you're not duplicating your work. You're coming in for, teachers have institute days. You go into your company for an institute day. You cover all your meetings and all that stuff, but you're not doing any work because the work is at home. All your stuff's at home.
Mm-hmm.
That would be ideal.
Yeah. Marte in the chat saying, Cody, would you really want to go to O'Hare or Midway, then fly to another airport just for a meeting, even if it's just once a quarter or once a month? No, but I wouldn't want to. But
that's not bad.
Look at where you average out. I'm an average out kind of guy. I got $7 haircuts for 10 years. And then one day I splurged on a $50 haircut at a salon. I was like, well, you look at my 10-year average, It's like
you're doing all right.
$750 haircut. Same with lots of stuff. So no, well, yeah. So what I want to wake up, go to here, do the check-in, do the right, like 7 hours of like door to door. It won't be that much, but 7 hours, 1 day a month, right? Like twice.
Yeah,
that's 14 hours of commute time across 20 days. That's less than an hour, which is a lot less than a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans are 45 each way. So like it would be somewhat, I think, comparable. Four times a year, especially quarterly. Sign me up.
Yeah, that would be nothing.
I'll make a date out of it. I'll get a hotel room. I'll go see some friends. Not a date, but I'll see some friends in New York City. I'm good with that.
Yeah, that would be nothing. I'm very jealous. Our longtime listener, Dave, we were talking about hotel prices, says it pays to have a daughter with Hilton Corporate. Love, friends, and family. Oh, that's what I need. Dave, we're your friends. You hook a couple brothers up. And Brian says he wants to watch live, but he's a truck driver. He likes when the pods drop because then he can listen while he drives. So Brian, thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Brian, speaking of commutes, right. All right. So if you go like once a quarter or a month to
that would be
meeting,
fine.
If it's a corporate meeting, right, they usually cater in lunch. They have some activity. It's kind of a fun, afternoon thing. Now, that's like a whole day worth of stuff typically. You were on the road for many years doing stand-up. Right. Talk to us about the difference between your commute versus how long you were actually performing.
When I was starting, when it was like, depending on a week where it might be one-nighters or 3 one-nighters and then maybe a weekend room, I could put 12 to 1,400 miles on the car in a week. And I was on stage 30 minutes a night, an hour a night on the weekends, or 45 minutes a night. Yeah, it was nuts. And even going to Milwaukee, which I still go sometimes, but now they're, now with Omicron, we got the word this week that it's going to be only people who really needed to be in the building had to be in the building. Everybody else was work from home. And then masks in the building. And so, but that's a 3-hour round trip, 3.5-hour round trip to do a 3-hour show. So, I don't miss, to school, the commute is 20 minutes to a half hour. On the worst days, 40 minutes one way.
Nice.
And that sucks.
Well, 20 isn't bad.
20 isn't bad, but that's rare. That's very rare, and I'm driving very aggressively. Very aggressively. But yeah, no, commute kills you. When we lived in Los Angeles, we were probably as far from downtown LA as you are from downtown Chicago.
Okay, about 45 minutes or so.
Well, that should be.
Oh.
But in LA, it was never less than an hour, mostly an hour and a half. If it rained, it was 3 hours. And this is not on side streets. This is on freeways. So the big joke in LA was when people were trying to buy houses, you'd drive till you could afford it. So people would drive far out to be able to afford a house. But then they've got like a 3-hour commute each way. And it's like, well, yeah, you have a house and that's fantastic, but you have no life. You never get to be in the house, So, I don't know. I would not want to, Who says it? PhD geneticist has a cubicle once a month. In the last year, there one time. Science at its best. Oh, that's from Sally. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I would have thought they wised up. Well, you'll find something where you don't have to leave.
No, I'm not worried about it. There's a higher percentage of remote hiring.
I see a lot of remote jobs. Yeah. Lots of remote jobs. Because this is going to be around forever, and it is, there's a good chance most of us are going to get it, and there's a good chance we're going to have to get boosters yearly or twice a year, whatever it is. I get a flu vaccine every year, and I don't get the flu, or if I do, I get a very, very mild case. So, okay. But I'm still digging. I'm still digging these people who go out of their way to talk about COVID being fake and not getting vaccinated, and then they die. I love it. And I know that sounds horrible. I love it.
Well,
I
you
love
don't
those
love
stories.
the
I
dying
don't love that
part.
people die, but I love the irony, and I love the big "I told you so" from science.
Well,
In a metaphysical sense.
it's not an "I told you so" from science, though. It's just a like. Yeah, I wouldn't just. I mean, I would. How would I phrase
If
that?
you thumb your nose at science and thumb your nose at the facts, things will come back to bite you.
I mean, yeah, but more broadly, it's if you thumb your nose at knowledge, because that can stigmatize science. It makes scientists.
All
It
right.
makes science seem like an
Well, that's right.
antagonist,
All right.
and
If
it.
you thumb your nose at facts, if you thumb your
Yeah,
nose at yes,
data,
knowledge, facts, data,
Because data is an
numbers.
objective thing. No one, you can villainize data if you. Yeah,
Sure, I hate data.
yeah.
Never watched one of those Star Trek shows.
Great character, fantastic
Really?
episode.
That's LeVar
Oh yeah.
Burton? He's a reading
No,
rainbow.
LeVar Burton's Geordi. Data was Brent Spiner.
Oh, right. He was a guy. He had a weird. Data had a weird complexion, didn't he?
Oh man, you know what? We got to talk about this since Mike put it in the chat. There's a subreddit that we could debate. Let's not talk about it a lot, but I gotta mention it because I'm familiar with it.
All right,
There
go ahead.
there is a subreddit called the subreddit is called Herman Cain Award.
Uh-oh.
You know who Herman Cain is?
I do know who Herman Cain is. I'm the one who reads the papers.
You know what happened to him?
Yeah, he died.
Tell the story of Herman Cain.
He was he was in Trump's. He ran for president. He's a doctor, very soft-spoken. Then he was in Trump's cabinet. Then when Trump was holding his rallies during the first big swing of COVID, Herman Cain went to a rally. Then Herman Cain got COVID and died. Does that pretty much sum it up?
Yeah, basically he yeah.
That's the story.
There's a subreddit called Herman Cain Award.
Okay.
And the description is, quote, nominees have made public declaration of their anti-mask, anti-vax, or COVID hoax views, followed by admission to the hospital for COVID. The award is granted upon the nominees' release from their earthly shackles. There's about 500,000 people. There's two ways to view this subreddit. One way to view this subreddit is to look at a post, see somebody there, and let's say there'll be like 7 screenshots of their Facebook posts.
Okay.
And the first 5 will be COVID is a joke. COVID, I can't believe governments are making us do this. It's fake. Vaccines are
right.
Whatever, all the conspiracy stuff. And then the last couple are, pray for my wife or whatever. She just got admitted to the hospital. And then it just declines from there. And then it's just like, please have my family in your prayers. We lost so-and-so, beloved one, right? So it's sad. It's really sad. One way to look at it is that it is a cautionary tale, which I do believe some people firmly think this subreddit actually is. Because some people have gone on the subreddit and posted selfies of them getting a vaccine and said, you know what? I thought this was all crap. And then I read this subreddit for like 5 days and saw all these stories. And now I'm scared I'm going to get the vaccine.
Okay. So that's good as a cautionary tale.
That I think as an educational resource, yes. I think there are some people that simply enjoy the schadenfreude of seeing
course there
people
are.
get there. But I think that's horrible. And I don't think that's okay. And I think that dismisses the humanity in people. And it's completely devoid of empathy. Because when a person dies, that's terrible. That ruins a lot of people's lives around that person.
Yeah.
No matter how stupid their views were. I know anti-vax people. And like if they died, I'd be very upset and sad. And so would their families. So
sure they would.
I hate that aspect of it. I don't touch it. I don't want to get involved with it. Mike, no judgment. I'm not passing any judgment on you, but because I think some people, I just don't know. I don't think some people are doing it in good faith, and so whatever. But if you're interested in that kind of thing, I mean, go for it. There are people I've been tempted to show it to. But.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm at the point now where I don't wish anyone death. I don't, but I'm not going to feel too sorry for them. I'm not going to celebrate their demise, but I'm not, and I'm going to feel bad for their loved ones, but I can't muster up a lot of sympathy. It's like if someone is drowning and you keep throwing them life preservers and they're like, no, I don't like the color of that life preserver. No, I wanted a circle one, or no, I wanted something else. It's like at some point you go, well, then there's nothing more we can do for you.
Yeah.
And you're on your own. And that's kind of how I feel. That's what I feel about it. It's like, there's nothing more I can do for you. And I also don't want to hear any more of, I guess it's just me, the people who were so vocal against it, then when they're on death's door going, I should have got it. I wish I should have got it. Everybody go get it. It's like, hey man, you had every opportunity. The only person who decided not to get it is you. And while I'm sorry that you're in this position, I can't muster up a whole lot of sympathy. I can for your family. I can for people that you're leaving behind. But, and I know that sounds inhumane, but it's not, because I want everybody to get it. I don't want anybody to die from this. It's just, at some point, you got to cut people out and go, all right, you're on your own, man. I can't feel sorry for you if you keep doing this. If you kept putting a fork in the outlet, and I said, Cody, don't stop doing that. Stop doing that. I'm not talking about a little kid because they can't make the decisions. I'm talking about a full-grown adult.
Right. Yeah, no. Mike jumping in, by the way, saying he doesn't peruse it. He just mentions it and figured it would make for interesting conversations.
Well, you are correct, Mike.
Nailed it. Yeah, it is. I think it is interesting for conversations. And I see your point of view. So much.
And I don't need anybody to agree with it or not. And I'm okay if people think that makes me a horrible human being, because I'm not.
You're not.
I'm not. I encourage everybody to protect themselves, and I go out of my way to try to help people do that. I don't want anybody in pain or sick or, but if everything that's out there and all the science and all the numbers and all the personal stories, if you're still going to be adamant and not get it, I can't feel sorry for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
I'm not. I can't.
It's because you draw a line at personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I've talked about it on the show before. I think there's greater forces at work that deserve more of the ire, like propaganda outlets, right?
Yes.
Like if a
again,
Fox News
me drawing a line of personal responsibility doesn't mean I am projecting my ire on these people. Mm-hmm. I'm just washing my hands of them.
But it makes you harder to sympathize with them, right?
Oh, it makes 100% harder to sympathize with them.
Exactly. And I think you have a great capacity to sympathize. You're a very sympathetic, empathetic person. Obviously, I know that of you. But I almost think that a reduced ability to sympathize with those who are suffering from it is a misdirection. And that, for me, I'm equally sympathetic. I'm still like, wow, I still feel really bad for you and all that, even though it was your choice, quote unquote. But there's just, people are impressionable, and people are not able to do a lot of things objectively. And I think that there are certain mechanisms that get activated in the public messaging that really push people into this very us versus them mentality, and it just.
I agree. I agree with all of that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think people are manipulated, and I think some of the people going on network TV saying, who have vaccines clearly, but then will be like, well, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't get them. What's in them? Blah blah blah. Like they should be in jail. They should literally be in jail because they're telling people to not be safe. It's very, 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 very horrible. And I know, Sally, choices have consequences, like I'm saying, but I don't know. I'm just a bleeding heart. I just ultimately always have just a lot.
So
of
are
that.
you? But then it does, boy. I respect you and I respect your opinions. That just it takes away again. And I know I'm falling on that side of you gotta make your own choices and you gotta live with those choices. And I could see right at the beginning of this whole thing, maybe you couldn't figure it out and you fell in under a political team or whatever it was that made you make these choices. But over the last 2 years, with the number of people who have died and the waves of this that just keep coming, and they said at the very beginning that this was a virus that could probably mutate. Now we're on our at least third mutation of this. It's all proving true. And at some point, I know, listen, I'm not an East Coast or a liberal elite. I'm a guy who's educated. I try to continue learning things, but a lot of people don't. But is that an excuse for them to be, is that an excuse for them to just make bad decisions and us to continue to feel bad? And again, I want you to know, I'm not celebrating.
No, of course.
So I'm not in the Schadenfreude camp. I'm just in the, damn it, you made your bed, now you got to sleep in it camp.
Sure. Adam jumping in the chat. I may have picked the wrong night to pop a gummy.
I was thinking of doing I saw some edibles in the fridge tonight, and I was like, oh, maybe this weekend I'll do an edible.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I don't know.
We'll topics in a minute.
Because what if the dogs start talking to me and try to kill me because I get paranoid?
You can call me. I know where to get you. Just drive down one street.
Just come and get me. Yeah, because I'll be running down the middle of it naked like Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
Help me.
I think your point has been well articulated enough, and mine is probably well enough.
Yes, yours is well articulated.
I'm probably gonna oscillate and move somewhat within what we're talking about between yours and mine. Like the amount of sympathy is kind of a case by case. What I can say is so as a parent now, I actually get what you're saying a lot, especially with the personal responsibility, right? Like if I teach my son how to be financially responsible and teach him how to invest and all this other stuff, and he knows all of it, and then he turns 18 and he blows $2,000 at a strip club or something. He would never do that.
Damn.
I know a friend that did that.
Making it rain. Let's go.
I have a friend that did
really?
that one.
You know, $2,000 at a strip club?
I might have been 3 in Minneapolis.
Oh my God. They're all wearing winter coats.
I never told you the wedding strip club story?
No.
All right.
Finish your point, and then we got to get to this wedding strip club story. Yeah.
So there's that part of me that's I wouldn't just walk up and hand him $3,000 and be like, all right, well, you could have known better, right? Because I had told him, okay. Mm-hmm. So from that point of view, it's easy for me to see that same perspective as you, right? But when you talk about the facts, right, which we see as facts, there are other people that have just been predisposed to either not believing that they are facts or mistrusting the sources so egregiously. And here's the parallel I'll draw is I listened to a podcast about from this guy that's done a lot of work on male youth in America and talking about the problem of fatherless sons and the role models issues that they have, and how almost complete percentage of our prison population is boys who grew up without fathers. Mm-hmm. Right. And without those good male parental roles and stuff like that. And it's in that situation, you couldn't go up to, a gangbanger or whatever, a criminal or juvenile delinquent and say well, you learn in school, you don't do drugs or, don't do this, or, what the law is, right? There's a lack of perspective that they have or have been taught. And I think that even some adults lack that. And I don't think that our education system as a country has done a great job of instilling critical thinking skills in a lot of people in a lot of communities. Correct. So again, it's a nature versus nurture argument, ultimately, I think. And all the science I've covered in the last 4 years has pointed to the fact that almost everything is a combination of nature and nurture. There's very little cut and dry one or the other when it comes to virtually anything, right? So that's I guess where I'll leave it. My point is that there's an argument to be made for both. Yours is very well articulated. Mine, I think, is reasonably well articulated.
You have, yes, you have articulated it very well.
And I don't think either of us are diehards about it. Again, there's some situations where I'll look at the person, I'll be like, screw this person. Like, if they get sick, I hope they get a little sick because, they need a little karma, right? But I'm probably never going to swing so far as to be like, is to even think it's okay that a person died. Every loss, even if it's a person that's shouting from the rooftops that COVID is fake or whatever, even if it's that person that die, like, it's still like, man, how did we get here? How did we get here to where that person even, because I find the tragedy in that person believed so strongly in like anti-science stuff that they were willing to basically die because of those beliefs. And that to me is that tragedy. So,
well, yeah, that's a whole other thing. How have we bred a society that is willing to sacrifice themselves in the name of either politics or being anti-science or hating the other side so much, whatever that other side is, that it's come to this.
Mm-hmm.
But enough of this. Who spends $3,000 at a strip joint? Because I'll be honest, the most in my youth, on the road occasionally, I would visit a gentleman's club, especially when I worked in Peoria. We always went to Big Al's. And then but I always found them, one, depressing, and two, wildly expensive. And so I couldn't spend a lot of money. I think in my entire life, I maybe got 3 or 4 of the $20 private dance. There's no sex in the champagne room, Cody. Chris Rock said it best. So, that comes out to what, $80, maybe $100. And normally I didn't have to pay cover because we'd use the old, we're the comedians over at the club. Oh, come on in.
Wow.
So I always got away with no cover.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So 3,000, please do tell $3,000 at a strip joint.
Then we got to get to the story, speaking of comedy, of me seeing your comedy show, which was
well, sure. Yeah. That's a big story. There's a lot of big stories, but since the title of this week's pod is already $3,000 at a strip joint, we got it.
People click on that, and then the first 40 minutes is about COVID.
Yelling about COVID. Oh, man. These guys it's clickbait.
Oh, man.
What if is that clickbait? That would be clickbait.
Well, I don't know. Anyway.
All right, so I'll call $3,000 at a strip joint. Yeah, we get that this is clickbait.
Those dollar pickleback shots add up fast at the club. I love that stuff. All right, this was like 10 years ago. I went to a friend's wedding. This was actually my friend John, my co-host on Game Life Balance.
Is John the doctor? No.
Pharmacist.
He's a pharmacist. All right.
Yeah.
So he had some oxy money.
He wasn't at the strip club.
Okay.
This was his wedding. So we were at his wedding. All my friends are there. So 10 years ago. So we were in our early to mid 20s, open bar, hard liquor.
Oh, mama.
Everyone was destroyed. Great wedding, monumental wedding. I got thrown in the back of a cop car at some point for my own protection against a relative of the bride because I'd made out with her cousin and she was not happy with that fact.
Wait, you made out with a cousin of the bride, or you made out with a cousin of a friend of the bride?
A cousin of the family of the bride, I believe. Okay. I don't remember how she's related to the bride, but yeah, the bride.
So
a
woman was gonna whoop your ass, and they put you in a cop car.
Well, she threw a drink on me. She's a minister.
Oh, not very godlike.
Well, I wasn't very godlike that evening. So a minister threw a drink on me because I was that bad. Because I made out with her cousin.
Did you just make out, or did you consummate the deal?
No, I made out with her in the photo booth. And
well, then what's the minister so mad about?
Well, her brother was standing outside the photo booth and saw it. Her brother was a professional college rugby player.
Oh, no.
And a pretty stacked one. And the problem was that she was in high school. And
no.
I didn't know this.
Oh my God.
I didn't know this. She looked very old. She looked older than me. wasn't
no.
that wasn't the case. So she just
no.
gotten out of high school, I believe.
Oh, she
And
was out of high school.
Well, she was 18. Let's just say
Or
that.
she had just gotten into high school.
She was apparently too young for me, according to the brother. So the brother almost gets in a physical fight with me, and then her cousin or whatever gets me outside the minister, throws a drink on me. A cop says, "I gotta protect you," throws me in the back of a cop car with my buddy. So we're there talking, and then my friend comes out. Let's call my friend Chad.
All right.
He's not his name, but Chad.
That's a good name. That's a good strip club teen comedy name. Chad.
It is. Thank you. So we're all in the back of the cop car chilling, and the cop is cool. He's chill. He's just like, you guys are funny. So Chad is like, we're not going to let the night end like this. Come on, we're going to go. We're going to go find a bar. We're going to go find a bar. Like, great. We'll go find a bar.
Chad is ready to party. He's wound up.
Party. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to end the wedding in a cop car. And so we start walking around downtown Minneapolis. There's one bar, everything was closed, right? We find one bar that's open. And we go upstairs, and they were like, "Oh, we're just closing, but you can go next door to the strip club." Yeah. And that's open. And Chad is like, "Let's go. And like, none of us are into that, but I'm like, okay. So we pay like $45 for the bottle of water and the cover. We go in, and Chad disappears immediately. The five of us are sitting there just hanging out, and we're like, "Where's Chad?" So Chad comes back about 40 minutes later, and he sits down, and he just puts his head down on the table. And we're like, "Where were you?" And he's just like, "I spent $3,000. We're like, "What?" He's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. So then a stripper walks up and says, "Hey, boys." And he immediately shoots his head up and goes, No. She's lying. Don't buy a lap dance from her. They're all liars. And he starts screaming this. We're about 10 feet away from two bouncers. So we decide it's time for Chad and us to go.
Chad's got to go. Yeah, they don't like that. They don't like that at the strip club.
Looking at us like, are you this guy about to throat punch me? So this whole time, like, four of us were just sitting at a table next to the entrance, just like, why are we here? So, we get out, we somehow get back to the hotel. And it turns out that he gave her his credit card.
Okay.
And she got to a point in the lap dance and said, "Hey, would you like a favor, an activity?
Quick release lap dance?"
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
And he said, "Yeah." She's like, "That'll be like $600. He's like, "Okay." So she swipes it. 10 minutes later, she's like, "Oh yeah, well, do you want me to like do this?" And it was like another explicit act, not legal. He's like, "Yes." She's like, "Okay, that's $500. He's like, "Okay." She swipes it and just continues to do a dance. And then it just happens like 4 times. And then he leaves. So we get back to the hotel.
She was a liar. Chad was right.
Well,
or did she do the...
She was. No, there were no deeds that happened. Okay. There were no deeds.
Dirty deeds done, not dirt cheap.
No, not even any deeds. No deeds.
No deeds done for three large.
Yeah. So we get back to the lobby. He at this point is now despondent because somehow he knew his bank had now placed a hold on his credit card. And and that bank was also his mom's employer.
Oh.
So he gets in the elevator. No, he doesn't get in the elevator. We walk into the hotel lobby. He's like, "I'm not going to my room. I'm not going to a room." And he collapses on the floor as dead weight and won't move. So we pick him up and we physically drag him onto the elevator. He's not blackout drunk. He's just despondent. We get him on. You get on the elevator. He finally, like, you take the elevator up. We're like, "You got to get up, Chad." We stand him up, and then he kicks the wall of the elevator, which is a mirror.
Oh,
it's all mirror walls. So he kicks it about 6 times. And then we're like, no, none of that. And then we bring him in and somehow got him to bed. Well, he woke up with like a bunch of missed calls from his mom and his bank being like, "Why is there $3,000 charged on your credit card?" Which he had. And that was the end of that. So,
wow. And Chad today is a vice president at Chase.
Oh man, if only.
Chad is Chad now runs a string of strip joints across Saskatchewan.
No, the best part was the next morning, the bride thought the whole story was hilarious and was thrilled at what I did because she loved all the family drama and thought it was hilarious. They, for their part, the bride and groom went to their bridal suite after the wedding and opened the door and walked in, and there was a couple in their room because they have a common last name. So they go to the desk. They say, you gave us you gave us the wrong room. There's a couple in there. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Here's a room key. And they went to the room, and there was another couple in the second room. And so the bride was not having that. I believe they stayed at that hotel for free that night. So the third room was actually unoccupied, and they were able to check in and go to their room. But yeah, it was a pretty eventful wedding. It was that great.
Sounds wild.
It was great.
I was working in St. Louis at Catch a Rising Star, and there was a headliner who was I won't mention his name, but he had been on a soap opera for a long time, and he was kind of a little bit sleazy. Debbie was in town. This is when we were first dating. And across the river from St. Louis is East St. Louis. Right. And a little town called Sauget that is known for 24-hour bars and strip joints. Then there's another. So now I'm not going to be able to remember the name of the strip joint. But they have a small PT's show club. So PT's is in Sauget, and it's a huge one. But then there's a smaller strip joint in a town a little ways away that's a little grittier, let's say. So everybody starts talking. The club manager and this headliner and myself and the girls and the other comic, his girlfriend was there. We all go to this strip joint. Now, this strip joint not only had, it was little, and it was just, it wasn't a high class gentleman's club. This is in the days of, it was a strip joint. Every light looked like your background. There was nothing in there other than red light, except for a couple lights on these little stages. They had 2 small stages. Then they had a big dance floor and a DJ booth. And sometimes they would have a male stripper in there too for the ladies. And when people went on the dance floor, they were doing the lambada, let's just say, a version of the forbidden dance.
Oh, the lambada.
Yes. So we go in there, and this headliner, soap opera, so good looking guy, the ladies loved him. Including one of the strippers who recognized him from the soap opera and then, gave him a couple dances, and he ended up buying her out of the rest of her shift. I don't know what he had to pay the club. I don't know what he had to pay her. I don't know how much money was exchanged, but it was a chunk. And he whisked her out of the club and back to his hotel in St. Louis. That was the same club that when I was in college, I went to, and I was wrecked. And I had never, I always would just go and kind of sit in the back, and my buddies would be at the stage with the dollars and stuff. Not that I was a prude, I was cheap and I didn't have a lot of money. Right. So I'd go in and I'd buy a couple beers and I'd sit at the table and enjoy the show. But this night, I don't know, this one lady really caught my eye. And this place was all nude, and they were not afraid to make contact while they were on stage.
Wow. With each other or with the patrons?
With the patrons.
Oh my.
And I was mesmerized by this woman. Just crazy, to the point where I went through all my money, and it probably wasn't a lot, but I ended up borrowing money from my friend just so I could sit at the stage and she would rub up on me and rub down my face. It was like, and finally they were like, "We got to go, man." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was 22, 23, we're just either in college or just out, because I worked down there after I got out of college in that area. So yeah, but that area was rife with strip joints at that time. One time, I'm out with my buddy and his brother, and I pass out in the back seat. And we wake up in a neighborhood called Brooklyn in East St. Louis. And we go in, and the parking lot is surrounded by a huge fence with razor wire on the top. It was like going into Hogan's Heroes. And then at the door, honest to God, they slid the thing open to make sure you weren't like, I don't know, somebody carrying a gun trying to rob the place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of debauchery, but never $3,000 worth.
No.
Never even, I don't think there was ever more than, the top might have been $50 that I would spend at a place like that.
Yeah, no.
I will say this though, and I may have said it before, best French fries on the planet was at Big Al's.
Yes, you've talked about that.
I have said that before. So just know that that's going. Get those French fries.
Yeah.
I would drive, when I was in the South, I would be driving around these towns I was in, and I'd see strip joints, and they would be advertising like steak buffet for lunch. I'm like, who's going in for lunch to get a steak buffet at a strip joint? What kind of, and I don't know, maybe just guys who are working and salesmen or anybody who's like, you know what, they got a pretty good steak over there at the Jerk Factory. And then you'd go over there and eat. I don't know if that was really the name of one, but
yeah, boy, why are they even open in the middle? Well, whatever. I guess there's night shift workers or something.
Yeah.
That's weird. I wouldn't do that.
Listen, day shift strippers are not, no. You're probably really going there for the steak buffet, because day shift strippers are nothing. You don't want to see them. That's why it's really dark inside. It's like, you know what? It's like at some point, it's like going to Hooters. Except these women are really, completely naked, but you're still not paying attention to them because you're just there to eat.
Oh, man. And those were, and now you're doing gigs in Crystal Lake, the lake made of crystals. Is there even a strip club in Crystal Lake?
What were you drinking? What were you drinking?
I had
looked like a stout.
Yeah, Revolution Vanilla Death. A little Revolution action. One of their Deep Wood series. Yeah, it's pretty good. Not my favorite of their releases this year, but pretty good. Coming Revolution glass. Nice. I love their Deepwood releases.
They do good stuff over there at Revolution.
Yeah. How's your dry Jan going?
I'm at day 11. Doing good. The other night I did make myself an Italian meal where I was thinking, oh boy, a glass of wine would be good with this. But I just drank some more water, kept moving. So yeah, it'll be fine. I'm looking forward to making it all the way through, and maybe carrying it off. No, I'm not going to carry it off. I'm just going to make it to February and then go back.
Yeah.
So it's going good. Yes. So I did stand up again. First big show it was January 7th. So first big show of 2022 at the Rouse Center for the Performing Arts in Crystal Lake. And last week on the show, you had said you were going to come, which was very nice, but I don't know if I wasn't sure, because it's a little ways from your house, first of all. Plus, you were doing those the CES symposiums, dropping technical knowledge on people, so I didn't know. But it was. So I expected all week for it to be canceled because the numbers were going up and the mask mandate, and then. But on Monday, I got an email from the booker. He was like, here's all the rules that the ROW has. Make sure you have a vaccine card with you. Got to wear a mask all the time. You got blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm vaxxed. I got my card. And so I got there, and I had been there once before. It's a beautiful theater, in downtown Crystal Lake. And you were very surprised at the crowd size. I was surprised there were any people there at all, only because of the weather and COVID.
Right.
Because it was freezing and COVID is raging and people don't want to wear masks. But I've heard, and it proved out, the people who come to that show really want to see the show. So they're a good audience. And there were, I don't know, 50, 60 people there, maybe a little less. But you were there. You and your lovely bride were there. which I have to be honest, I didn't tell you this before you came, and I didn't tell you this till now. I always hate when people I know are at the show. I have always, and it's, but let me say this. This is the first time since my mental evolution that I've done a show where people I know came, and it didn't bother me this time. I used to be terrified that somebody I know would come and something would happen and the show wouldn't be good, and because I didn't believe that I was going to deliver all the time and the show wouldn't be good, and people that I knew would be forced to go, oh no, that was really good. That was, it was fine. You were funny. I never wanted to put, I didn't care about strangers. I mean, I did, but like the first time my brother came to see me, I was throwing up literally before I went on stage. I was so like, oh my God. And I guess I was working in Minneapolis and he came to see me there. And I guess he was feeling the same way. He was like, I don't want to go see him because what if it's not funny? And I have to tell him it's funny. And which, says a lot about our family dynamic. He doesn't think I'm going to be funny. I don't think I'm going to be funny. It makes no sense then that we're both at this comedy club and one of us is performing there.
Oh man.
But I remember the first time my parents came to see me, it was like, oh, I always just right before the pandemic, I had started going back doing shows, and I did a show in Piatone, and I hadn't told anybody because one, I was just getting back. Two, I don't know. It's like I'm going to work. Hey man, come see me at work.
Yeah.
I know it's different, but it's weird.
You did a handful where you did not tell me or anybody, and I got mad at you. It's like,
I know.
Wait, you didn't tell me there was a show? I remember that.
Well, now that I've in a better mental spot, I'm like, you know what? I know I'm funny. I know I do a good job. I don't always kill, but people always have a good time. So it didn't bother me that you were there. And I could see you you were sitting far enough back. I know you thought you were sitting far enough back that I couldn't see you, but the lights were not so bright that I couldn't see the audience.
No. I knew we were sitting far enough back to where we weren't immediately the one thing, right? Because like there's a 5-row back there's a point in the crowd that you are just looking at. Right. I have found. Maybe, I don't know.
And it's not the first row. The first row, even though I talked to them a couple times, I had to look down because this is a theater, it's an old movie theater and it's very nice. So the first row is almost too far down. So yeah, it was like the third or fourth or fifth row. Those were like right. I didn't have to move my head
right
either up or down to see them.
Yeah, we did 8 or 9.
But because of the way the theater was and the lighting, I could see further back. I could see all the way to the door.
Right. So. Well, I knew you could see us, but anyway, that notwithstanding, I'm glad we didn't totally distract you.
Oh no. I gave you I used your name a couple times, made reference a couple times in the show.
Very good. Yeah, it was good. It was I was just curious to see you because I've been working with you for
a long time,
14 years. And this whole life of stand-up. And it turns out, if you've not seen Brian for stand-up before, it's just like the way he always talks on the show.
Yes, I sit in a room and I don't look at you and I just talk into a microphone. They set up a little booth on stage and I sit in there and talk.
Yeah. No, your demeanor, your energy, your cadence, like it's I mean, I don't know what else I would have expected, but it's like, oh, right. This is like Brian being on fire during a radio show. Only there's a lot more punchlines that are like, in there, pre-planned, obviously. So, but yeah, a ton of great crowd work and
thanks.
You did pull a pretty decent crowd for like 4 degrees first weekend in January, late at night, Omicron, icy roads. Like there's no one had any right to be there.
Right.
At all.
Yeah. Like I said, I was sure up until I left the house Friday night that I was going to get canceled. And even the booker said, he had been talking to the Row and they were pretty sure they were going to do it, but he was still like, okay, but they had made arrangements in case we they had to cancel.
Yeah.
So
I almost texted you that morning too, and then I was like,
yeah,
I'm sure he would text us if he knew he wasn't,
yes,
or that the venue would someone would tell us, right?
right. I would have let people know,
Yeah.
and it's So then I post a couple pictures. A fellow comic, a guy who used to host this cable access show that I was on doing crazy characters for years, Psychobabble, Mike Preston was there, and he was taking pictures. And so he sent me a few pictures that he took of me in action. And I posted a couple. Well, I forget that people at school follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And they were like, and yesterday they were like, hey, that's fantastic. You're a stand-up? And I go, yeah, I was a stand-up for 20 years before I did anything else. Oh my God, we have to come to your show. We saw the picture we want. Now everybody wants to come and see it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm not telling anybody.
Oh man, I get it.
Which seems really
fun.
Well, thank you for coming. It was very nice. I switched. This is a little behind the curtain. I told you about it. Like, I did that story about getting high for the first time and it going wild. Well, I took a hybrid of two. I took the hybrid of the first time I got high and the really bad experience, and I melded them into one. And I've been working on that for the last couple months. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to close with it this time. I'm going to make that the last story last Friday night. So I did it that way. And I'm like, all right. So now I got to tinker with some stuff. And because I'm trying to bring in all new story, all new stuff. You know, I still do some old stuff and I've updated it obviously, but it was, it's fun to be back doing it. I miss it.
Well, you got a lot of material to draw from. I mean, just on this, because like I listen to Bill Burr's Monday morning podcast, or I used to a lot. And he would, after sometimes he'd tell a story or a joke or something, he would be like, I got to write that down. And you would hear him like, I think he was just improvising on the show for an hour and that was his material generation. And afterward he'd go back like Second City does with sketches. I mean, like if you go back,
I never did that. I should have done that more. I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, boy, I told all these stories and, people have the saddest Easter story ever I should do that on stage sometime.
You've never done that on stage?
No.
Oh my God. Really?
No. And it's, that and the Halloween story. I used to make a joke about the Halloween, but I didn't tell the whole story about not being able to wear a costume and why and all of that. I was realizing as I was sitting with, and this is something we were sitting with Molly down at Debbie's mom's at the funeral. And even when she's with my family, stories come out and there's a lot of weird, like not great stories sometimes, but they're funny. Well, like the saddest Easter story ever. And Molly's just like in shock. Like, how is this how you really lived? And I'm like, yeah, it just, it's just wild. So there's a lot of stories. And I'm finally, because guys I know in comedy would always go, man, you tell great stories. And I'm like, yeah, but and stories were never really, in clubs and stuff, they didn't want storytellers. They wanted, blah, blah. So, but I think it's truer to myself to just tell the stories. I'm having more fun. And since I don't rely on it now as my sole living, I'm much more at ease to go, yeah, I'm going to tell this 6-minute story about getting high, or I'm going to talk for 5 minutes about my dogs and all kind of crazy shit and stupid stuff that I found when we were moving. And, so I had never gotten moans when I did that one line about, not having sex for 24 years.
That was, yeah. I was surprised the crowd did that.
They turned fast, but it was like, oh, good. Now I get to yell at you for booing me. But then I was like, I was looking for archaeologist in my head. I couldn't find the word archaeologist.
Oh.
I was like, I rolled over it and rolled through it, but I was looking I was trying to come back to the audience's moan. And I couldn't find the word. I knew it started with an A, and I was like, "Oh, man. Damn it!"
No, wow. I can't remember which. I mean, there was no clear part where I was like, oh, he doesn't know what to say. Like, cause you're just like boom, 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 firing stuff off
Well,
all the
thank
time.
you.
It's great. Are you going to go back through
Yeah.
our podcast descriptions and?
Well, I'm going to go back and listen to like the greatest Easter story, or the saddest Easter story ever, and other stories I've told. I try to remember.
If
And
there's
that
any
was,
if there's any hilarious stories, if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube, leave a comment with any particularly hilarious stories you think Brian should consider. I was gonna say, I think you cleaning out your mom's that room, just getting rid of getting rid of the stuff that was in there, just your descriptions of the things, like the Bose sound system, all that, like that whole deal, that's just a gold mine. That can be as short as long as you want, because there's really no arc, right? It's just you found stuff and it's just like, what? Ah, man. I remember that very vividly from the last year.
All right. Well, I'll go listen back to that. That's why and this is the other thing I started doing in the last, because I was just getting back when the pandemic hit. I had stuff booked.
Right.
And then it was gone. And I'm like, and now hopefully things are going to start picking up. Not where I'm going to do it all the time, but do it enough because I love it. But I've been recording myself now, because I used to, I do a lot of crowd work, because that's where one of my strengths was. And then I would forget. People go, oh man, that thing you did was so funny. It was like off the cuff. And I was like, yeah, it was funny. What the hell was it? So now I'm recording all the shows just so I can listen back. And so I listened going up to Crystal Lake to my show from a few weeks ago. And I was like, okay, what are the beats in this story? And what are the beats in this story? And what's, I should get some new. Your trip to Dock in the Box last winter. I don't remember that. I'll have to go look at that one too.
Dock in the Box. What? Doctor? You go to
a doctor last winter?
You go to a doctor in a box?
In a box. Was I in a box?
You go to the Bronx?
I didn't go to the Bronx. I went to Brooklyn.
Did you go to the Brooklyn in the Bronx? Is Brooklyn in the Bronx?
No, Brooklyn and the Bronx are two different things.
Huh.
All right, I'll have to go back and look. Brian and Debbie driving back from New Orleans looking for food. When I fell at my mom's, it almost cut my finger off. You guys have good memories. Thank you all. Everybody, when I had the stitches up my arm and the stitches in my hand.
I was not here for that.
You must have been. It was while we were cleaning stuff out.
I don't remember.
It was last summer, and I had to go to. Maybe that was it. And I went in. Oh, it was what? Maybe you weren't on, because I was with Craig, and I was pushing out a thing. I'll give you the highlights. Had all this stuff I was taking out to the garbage at my mom's, and I had one of those old rickety put together TV stands, and I had a mirror sitting on top of it. And I was rolling it out, and the casters caught in a crack in the concrete and stopped, and the whole TV cart collapsed, and I fell on top of the mirror, and it cut through my hand. I had all the way up my arms. I had huge cuts on my leg. So I'm bleeding profusely, and the next door neighbor was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And I get up, and there's just blood pouring out of my hand and my arm and my leg. And I still have scars on my knee and some scars here on my pinky. They thought they thought I might have cut the nerve. And so, but
I was not here for that.
You were. So I'm going to, my mom is freaking out, and I'm like, stop yelling. And I'm calling Debbie. I'm like, I think you gotta, do urgent cares take our insurance? And she's like, yeah, that should be fine. And I'm like, okay. My mom had found gauze and stuff. I had wrapped my whole arm in gauze. I had wrapped my hand in gauze. I get in the car, and I'm going to there's an urgent care right by her house. But then I realized I hadn't eaten all day and I was getting kind of dizzy. So as I'm bleeding like a lunatic, I stop at Burger King right near my block from my mom's house to get a Whopper, and I eat in the car. I eat in the car, and I go to the urgent care, and there's nobody at the urgent care, but I walk in and everybody's ignoring me. The people who work there, they came out, they look, they see I'm there's blood everywhere. It's coming down my leg. I'm disheveled. I'm insane. I'm like feeling like lightheaded and shaky. And you know me, I'm like, well, I've eaten and now I'm impatient and I feel awful and I'm leaving. So I got up, I got in the car, and I'm woozy as hell. And I called Debbie. I go, you got to find me a place near the house because I'm coming home. I still had my Burger King Coke in the car, so I'm drinking Coke as I go so I can keep my blood sugar up. And she found me a place in Oak Park, and I went in there, and they were like, oh, my God. And I had stitches. They were really worried that I'd cut my hand so deep that they were going to have to do surgery.
Oh, my God.
That was a good story. Thank you Thank you, folks. Those are good ones. Marta said, my mom not wanting a microwave oven that we had. Oh, yeah, she wanted me to buy a new one. And I was like, no, we have one. You can have. No, you got to bring me the new one. And then Debbie having to clean out the one that looked like it had, like she'd been microwaving cats. It was bad. So, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of, I weave a tail.
Mm-hmm.
I can weave a tail.
I'm sure there's many others I can't even think of. But wow. I had not heard that. That was horrifying.
Wow. Yeah, Craig, the biggest kick Craig got out of it was that I stopped at Burger King.
Of course. I know.
That's
the crux of it.
It's true, though, because I hadn't eaten. And I was like, I don't know how long I'll be at this urgent care. And, I'm already a little woozy because I'm losing blood. So I got to have something to eat.
Wow.
And I love a good Whopper.
I'm looking at our the podcast feed up on Spotify. There's a lot. Oh, so you uploaded a bunch November 2020 because that was pretty much when we launched.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
Trying to
rescuing your daughter from New York City.
Oh, that was a pandemic thing.
Couple moving stories. Workplace safety. I don't really know. Moving to New Orleans. Yeah, there's a lot. There's just so many.
I'm looking back to see because I know I posted a picture. So I was trying to look kind of for a date when that would have been. Oh, here it is. Okay. So yeah, this is when we were still the quarantine cast. It would have been back in September of 2020.
Oh, that's the month my baby was born. So
yes,
definitely not here.
You were definitely not there. Yeah, I'm looking at these pictures. My left wrist, hand, and forearm were done. My right pinky was the one that I almost sliced off. Yeah, I still have a couple scars on my knee.
Dude,
I've lived a life, Cody. That's the thing.
Have.
Man lives a life. Like Tim, life is funny.
Well,
if you can look at it, and go, all right,
sure.
So good. Now you guys are all getting writer's credits when I start putting when I do my one-man show.
Yeah.
Which is, probably going to be titled, You Wonder Why I'm the Way I Am. And then it's just going to be, we told the story as we were sitting at Debbie's mom's after the funeral. Somehow the story came up of my mom breaking a plate over my brother's head at the dinner table. It's a horrible story. 100% true. And Molly's eyes were as big as dinner plates. And I think she'd heard this story before. But of course I was putting a little swerve on it, making it, entertaining now because I had an audience in front of me. She was like, this can't be true. How is Grandma not in jail? How are you? I was like, just,
different time.
Bad day. Yeah. Bad night. Yeah. So there's a lot of stories. Sally says the drive back from New Orleans where there was so much snow and no food. Oh, that was bad. Remember doing the podcast from the hotel room?
Yes.
Yes. That would have been, that's coming up on a year because we were driving back from Mardi Gras,
Yeah.
or what was Mardi Gras last year. So anyway, so that's, yeah, it was nice. It was nice for you to come out. It was good. And I'm looking forward to some stuff. I know next Wednesday, I'm just doing a very short set at a showcase at Zany's in Rosemont. So, and then after that, there'll be some more shows, and I'll always post them on the show page, just like I did for this one, trying to give people. So if people want to come, that's the place I'll always have, I'll always put up a thing. Mm-hmm. And after the show, feel free to, well, I'm not going to talk to you. COVID's coming. I don't want to hobnob. No, that's not true. If you're around and I see you and you say hi, I always say hi.
Right.
So yeah. So that was it had to be weird. It was weird for me to have you see me. It had to be a little weird for you to finally see me.
No, like I said, it was like, you've been telling stories on the radio. Before the podcast, I produced for you for 10 years, 12 years, probably 11 years, at least 10 years. And, a lot of that time, I mean, I was always part of the show, but there were a lot of segments where I wasn't talking, right? So I've listened to you probably more than anybody else
That's probably true. Yeah, Debbie's probably the only one who's had to listen to me longer.
Yeah. So, so it wasn't that different. So that's why, obviously, I enjoy doing stuff with you. If there's anybody listening to this that is listening to this, you will necessarily enjoy Brian's stand-up because it's just more of this, but in a different medium, right? It's stand-up.
Yeah.
So it's the live audience makes it much more like participatory and like interactive and enjoyable, and seeing you have a lot of people to riff on, not just, it was
not just you and Roger.
It provided a lot of valuable insight into exactly how Roger and I were treated the first several years we were on the show. I was like a lot of things clicked. I was like, oh, this is what he does. He's been doing this for 20 years. It's not just us. There really was a light bulb moment pretty early on with all the crowd stuff. I was like, wow, this is so much more context than I'm used to. It was great. It was great.
Did it ruin it for you now? Did you get to see the great and powerful Oz? Did you see the little man behind the curtain? And now you're like, oh, I get it.
No, like I said, it was enlightening. It was wonderful. I would go again,
Good. All right, very nice. Well, thank you. It was only a 35-minute set, so there's a lot I didn't get to do.
Yeah. It didn't feel too short or too long though. I thought it was just right. So
no, it was a nice thing.
Major kind of arcs, basically. I thought.
Yeah, I think so. There were 3 big chunks.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do any of the family stuff really.
Yeah.
Like the growing up stuff.
Right. And I'm trying not to be overly effusive because then I'm afraid you'll think it's fake.
I thought it was fake the minute you said you had a good time. So
we did have a good time. Look, hey, we don't.
They were serving drinks, so I know
we drank a lot, and I don't know if you know this. We don't have a lot of date nights out.
No,
so,
you don't.
If we had gone, because it was like 45 minutes to Crystal
Lake.
it
was a drive.
So if we had gone there and back on a Friday and not enjoyed ourselves, I'd probably have taken this week off the podcast. Still, you know what?
I don't blame you. Yeah. Oh, I got things to do. By next week, I'd forgotten about it and we wouldn't have talked about it.
Right. No, it was super worth it. And, my wife thinks you're hilarious because you are. Me, I'm lukewarm. But it was fun. It was a fun.
Yeah, you've been exposed to it for too long.
I know. I like the openers too.
Yeah, they were good guys, and it was a strange format, to be honest, because they had the opening guy went out and he did his set, and then the feature guy came out and did his set. That guy had driven from Dalton, which is a far southeast suburb, like near Cal City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had driven a long way. But they did a great job. See, the crowd, they did a nice job, and the crowd really liked them. But then there was an intermission. And normally at a club, there's not an intermission. But because there's no waitresses at a theater, they want people to have time to get a drink if they want. So they took what was it? Maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes,
10-ish?
10. I know it was going to be longer because this being a theater, it's strange because they have, the house guys running things in and they're coming in going, 5 more minutes, 10, it was fun. But came in and we have 5 more minutes before we're going to start up, but everybody got their drinks and the bar is empty. So do you want to just start? And I was like, yeah, let's just go.
That's probably my fault. I think I was the last person that got to a seat from the drinks.
That's all right. We had 5 more minutes to wait.
Perfect.
So you could have taken your time. I saw you had like a big gulp kind of drink. Well, they serving everything in the big plastic cups?
No, they just put everything in. They weren't that big, but I had a bunch of double whiskey Cokes. I don't know why.
Nice.
You got to get liquored up at a comedy show.
Listen, and you never know. You didn't know what you were gonna see there. It's probably best to be drunk because you never could tell. You never can tell.
You know what was nice is you were a little less filtered than I see you in a performative state. Because on the podcast, you and I are both a little, appropriate. We're a little respect. Believe it or not, if you're watching and listening to this, believe it or not, we both use some restraint. Even me. I know it sounds insane and you don't believe us, but we do. And there was a little less of that on stage, when you weren't blue at all. You didn't really swear at all, I don't think.
I have worked since I started back. I don't say F anymore. Just because it was a personal thing. Nobody said I couldn't. And I used to say it a lot just because that's how I talk in normal life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my stuff, I would say, I don't know, soft R, PG-13, probably more, depending on, like, this place, there was a nice mix of ages, but a little bit older. And you just kind of go, and really the stories I'm telling aren't real dirty. I don't really have any dirty stories to tell. So throwing in a gratuitous F doesn't make any sense. The only time it popped out once a few weeks ago in Kenosha, and once at a set I was doing in Lake Geneva. And it was only when I was going off on the crowd. Not going, but like riffing, where something somehow, and I just, how like I'll just kind of put my head down and start going, and that's when it would like just pop out. Again, that's because that's just how I talk,
right?
No,
it makes sense. Well, everybody go see Brian. That's my takeaway from this.
Go see Brian, and then listen to Cody on come see me for stupidity, and then listen to Cody on Curiosity Daily Podcast for a little brief enlightenment. We're still doing that now. We're still doing that Curiosity. Coming out a few times a week. We got some good guests coming.
No.
All right. We're getting some weird Russian bot comments from
YouTube
tonight.
Sucks. YouTube sucks. Boo.
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 Boo, Russian bots. Can I tell you this before we get out of here?
Yeah.
So I'm back at school, right? Started back yesterday, which is not sitting well with the dogs. The dog's very, very angry at me yesterday because they've had somebody in the house for the last 2 years. Debbie's been working at home. I was at home. I was on vacation the last 2.5 weeks. So yesterday I have to go to work and they're by themselves. So, they got up and I gave them their breakfast and they went out before I left. And I came right home from school as fast as I could. And I walk in and Lawson is laying in the living room on his dog bed. He looks at the door and he stands up and just starts barking. Really like he's saying, "Where the hell have you been?" And then Gidget comes up and she sits down in front of me and starts her and Debbie calls and Gidget is still yelling at me. And I'm like, you hear how mad Gidget is at me because I left? Lawson had gone for a week because I changed the sheets because they're allowed up on the couches, whatever. So I put a towel, then we have a couch cover, then I put a sheet. And as long as I throw an extra little blanket up there, Lawson will make a pillow out of the loose blanket and lay there. He hadn't bothered the couches for a week. Everything was fine. I come home yesterday, the sheets, everything pulled off both couches. She was mad. He was mad that I wasn't home. And then Gidget was stamping her feet and screaming. But yesterday, I go to school, and I'm teaching first grade because one of the teachers was sick, so I'm handling first grade for a few days. And one of the kids didn't have her iPad. She's like, oh, my iPad, I had to leave my iPad at home because my dad said it wasn't charged. And I was like, okay, you could have brought it here and we'd have charged it, but whatever. I'm not going to argue with a 6-year-old because in a minute, you'll know why. I also have to really temper my tonation of my voice when I'm working in kindergarten and first grade because I have a very booming voice and it's kind of a deep voice. And if I raise it even a little for 5 and 6-year-olds, they tend to pee their pants and start to cry.
Right.
I
have done that, but only a couple times.
Right. Well, I get really mad at you.
Sure.
So I say to this kid, goes, oh, I don't have, and I have my iPad, my district issued iPad. And I'm like, all right, I'll let you use my iPad, but tomorrow you got to bring it. Okay. So I give her my iPad and make sure all the apps that she needs are on there. And about 10 minutes in, I see her holding my iPad and rubbing her nose up and down on my iPad. And I lost my mind. I'm like, what are you doing? I said, get over here. So now I sit down, so I'm eye level with this kid. And she's a tiny first grader to begin with. 7, maybe, tops. And I'm like, what are you doing? I said, that's my iPad. Why would you rub your nose all over my iPad when we're all trying not to be sick? I said, we got to get a wipe. So I go over and I get the Clorox wipes. And I'm wiping my thing. And I go, what would your mom and dad say if I called them and told them you were wiping your nose on my iPad? And her lip starts to quiver. And I go, and what would your teacher say tomorrow if I said, hey, so-and-so was wiping her nose on my iPad? Well, I don't want to get in trouble. And she I could hear her voice start to break. And I go, and in my mind, I go, if I say one more thing, I'm going to make her cry. And there was a part of me that was like, I should make this kid cry. And then I went, no, that's not going to play well with the rest of the class. So I was just like, it's okay. I said, that's fine. But I'm going to wipe this off, and you need to use my iPad correctly. I said, and you need to use your iPad correctly and bring it tomorrow. Okay. Well, she brought her iPad today. But I told some of the other teachers and they were like, oh, and I was like, people aren't going to believe this. People won't believe that kids will wipe their nose all over your iPad. But it happened. Teachers believe it because they see that kind of stuff every day. It was horrifying. It was completely horrifying. And I know I'm being paranoid, but there's kids dropping left and right in this place. There's close contacts. There's kids confirmed with COVID. There's teachers who are dropping. There's parents. And I'm like, I don't need your snot glazing my iPad. So now I got the dogs mad at me. I got kids dripping their nasal congestion on my iPad. I don't know. If I don't die from this gig, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Either the dogs are going to gnaw out my throat in the middle of the night, or one of these kids is going to give me the bubonic plague or something.
We've made it this far.
Well, sure. Thanks for your coaching advice.
So you're therefore invincible. That's my logic, and I'm sticking to it.
I might have superpowers. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Exactly.
Right. We got anything else for tonight?
No.
You got anything? What do you got?
Since we canceled, two quick things. One, I used the exercise bike in the basement.
Oh yeah, for what? Sweaters?
Exercise.
Oh, you exercised on it.
Yeah, I actually, powered it on. It works okay. Only problem is that there's an LCD display.
Yeah.
Right. And at the top, it tells you your speed and your beats per minute if you hold the bars, and it's got all the things. And then in the middle, there's the bar where it shows you the resistance. It goes up and down.
Yep.
And then at the bottom, it's got a scrolly thing that says your speed. The only problem is the bottom right 3 digits don't turn on. So like the display is, broken or whatever. And those are the digits where I set my age and weight.
Oh.
So like I don't think it matters. I'm still biking on this stationary bike, but like I can't like calibrate it to myself or save it or anything. So, but whatever. But it works. It was $180. It retailed for $1,500. I'll take it.
Nice. So, did you pick any series to watch?
Not yet. No. So this week is Awesome Games Done Quick.
I forgot to bring that up. I saw you post about this is your yearly thing. You love Awesome Games Done Quick.
Yep. The video game speedrun marathon. So I'm going to do that, and I will pick a show probably later this week or early next week. But I have a friend that's been texting me nonstop about all these indie wrestling events that I haven't been watching.
Oh.
And we have like a 2-hour limit per week for wrestling here, and we're watching AEW, but there's like some TNA stuff and there's some independent stuff. So I might YouTube some stuff and just watch like a wrestling match or two. But yeah, I'm feeling good. That was good. I used it. We'll see if I can continue to use it and actually be exercising.
I know I've been pushing this, but I finished all the episodes of Behind the Ring or Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
Except Friday. Is it Friday? Yes. They are dropping 6 new ones, the final 6 episodes.
Wow.
So I have 6 more of those to watch. And I got to say, you know who Jim Cornette is, and you know who Jim Ross is. I'm when Jim Cornette in the 80s was a manager and stuff, he was just a tool. But listening to him speak on these documentaries, I'm like, oh, I respect this guy more. And Jim Ross the same way, except for, you know, the Montreal screw job. And then you know, Vince is a jerk.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon is a complete a-hole.
See, the thing with Dark Side of the Ring is I think I could get my wife to watch that with me.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
At least some episodes. The basement treadmill stuff is really reserved for like, she is not like, she's not watching anime. Right? I can watch anime down there. And now that I know that it's very stationary bike, like it doesn't jiggle, I'm not moving in my head, I can watch it with subtitles.
Okay.
Perfection. Yes. The other quick update is that, so TBD on that. Other quick update is since they canceled the Vegas trip, we did a date night in Wicker Park on Saturday night. And we stayed at the Roby Hotel. They converted this corner building right at North and Damon in Milwaukee into this like 12-story hotel. Really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. Affordable enough, you know, for a nice date night. But, you know, we got to walk around Wicker Park, and we got to...
That's right by that first escape room we went to, right?
It is. In fact, my wife, the next day, yesterday, on Sundays rather, Sundays, she teaches yoga above that escape room.
Really?
That's where her yoga studio is. That's where 105F is. So she literally teaches in that building. So I walk by that escape room every time I go in town.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, we did that. We went out to a couple places. That's not a great story in itself, but I can preview next week. We can talk about one of the activities that we participated in, which was I went to my first gong bath.
Gong bath?
Mm-hmm.
How do we not get to that tonight? Don't forget to talk about this. I'm writing it down. A gong bath. That's a tease.
That's a tease.
All right, I've written it down.
Next week we'll talk about the gong bath. But overall, it was a very lovely little date. Half the bars in Wicker Park were closed because they were just we're closed.
Yeah, we don't want to deal with the vax mandate and all that.
I don't know first weekend in January, I'm guessing a lot of places were just like, we're just going to take the weekend off. I don't know, but
yeah, and people, you know, there's a shortage of staff, and people don't want to have to deal with, you know, they're wondering who's going to be the enforcer of the mandates and stuff like that. So, you know, doesn't surprise me. Plus, you guys are out late. Oh man, you're out all doing kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Did you go to Peace for some pizza? Did
not. We ate at Big Star, got some tacos.
Oh, very nice.
And then we went to the Up Lounge, which is on the 12th floor of the Roby, to get a couple cocktails. Terrible cocktails.
Really?
Terrible.
Oh, no.
Completely overpriced. You're paying for the view, and it's a great view, but we were staying at a room on the 11th floor, so why did we go up the... So
your view was only, the view was only 13 feet better.
Exactly. So we went downstairs and then we went to the Violet Hour to get nice cocktails.
I've heard that place is great. Is it great?
It's where I brought her on our the night I engaged, proposed to her when we
The
got
night I
engaged.
engaged her.
Yeah. No, there was a sign on the door that said, "Sorry, we're closed today. See you next time."
See you next time.
So we went to some other generic bar and paid like half what we paid at the Up Lounge for better cocktails. I mean, like I said, it was a nice view. It's a nice scene, but the cocktails were awful. And then
just quality or price or everything.
It was price $20 a cocktail.
What?
For a poorly mixed whiskey Coke. I was like, no, that's not what I got. I
was going to say $20 for a whiskey Coke.
No, it was an old fashioned. It was a terrible old fashioned. And she got some other drink and it just tasted like it was like some gin drink and it tasted like fruit punch. It's terrible cocktails.
That sucks.
Yeah. But the view's great. And they have a outside area where they slide open the patio doors. You can sit outside. Like in the summertime, like heck yeah. Like go get a couple glasses of wine. I would recommend get some wine.
A beer that is the beer or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Do some beer or wine.
It's hard to screw up an old fashioned.
It is, but they did. It was just bad. So we went to another generic bar like a block down and got a drink and then went back. It was great. But
very nice. Yeah. All right. So
vacation kind of thing.
Look at that. Yeah. The baby's up hanging out with your parents. Doing God knows what in Rockford, getting initiated into a gang.
Mm-hmm.
Going by the old clock tower.
Basically.
Pouring one out for the brothers that aren't there.
Playing with the gifts that you generously dropped by and gave him for his Christmas
gifts. That kid's got enough gifts. He's doing all right. He's all set up with his gifts. From everybody. You're going to be tripping over little people forever.
I was just going to say, I've got the empty box of WWE Little People over there because I'm excited that Randy Savage is now jumping around on the helicopter that he's got. It's fantastic.
Is he really?
Oh, yes. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. All right. So next week we'll talk about gong baths. I will have been reunited with my wife. Walter is coming. I get to Walter's getting dropped off. Molly's driving home early Thursday because she has a big party to go to in Milwaukee this weekend. So Debbie was going to bring Walter home with her. And I just found out today, Molly is bringing Walter home with her and then dropping Walter off sometime Friday while I'm at school. So when I come home from work, Walter will be here. So it'll be Walter and Gidget and Lawson and myself until Debbie gets here sometime Friday night.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I'm not going to be a crazy cat lady. I'm going to be some crazy old dog man.
Yeah.
Who just sits with dogs. And all right, we will wrap on this. I have found that I don't have any humans here to talk to. I have really been talking to the dogs a lot. And I used to make fun of my mom for it, but I get it now. I get it because there's nobody else to talk to. And I go crazy when I did look up The Red Pill. I haven't watched it yet, but I did find out where I can stream it. So I will try to watch that before next week too.
Yeah. Let me know how it is. I really I'm curious about it.
Yeah. I've been checking out more and more. I watched Dark Side of the 90s just to fill the time. I binged it was by Vice too. It was a little documentary, same format as Dark Side of the Ring.
Well, earlier today, I watched a 5-hour speed run of Final Fantasy 13, followed by a 90-minute speed run race of Nier Automata. And then earlier tonight, Final Fantasy 7 Intergrade. And yesterday, I watched a Mario Galaxy 4-way race.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, does the baby sit with you and watch these too? Or does he have no interest?
We're really not supposed to put him in front of screens, but I bend the rules a little bit because that's all I am. I'm in front of screens 24/7 this week. So, all
right, good. Well, listen, have fun watching the rest of the week. Thank you again to you and your wife for coming out. Tim, I will record some of the dog chats because it's a horrifying look into the psyche of a lunatic. But thank you for coming out to the show. That was very nice of you to come. It was great to see you. I wish we could have gone somewhere, but I didn't see any bars up there that were open, and I was not drinking. So.
Nothing was open. No, it was fine. We got home and passed out. It was great.
I don't blame you. All right. We'll talk to you all again next week. Thank you for listening. As always, tell people about it, share, subscribe. Hey, guys. I don't know what else you do. Listen to Cody on the Curiosity Daily podcast. CuriosityDaily.com is the website where you can hear all Cody's ramblings, scientific and or otherwise, with his co-host Ashley. And that's it. So have a great week. Stay safe. Get vaccinated. Don't breathe on anybody, and don't wipe your nose on anybody's electronic devices. That's my last word. Cody?
I'm good with that.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I did your bye.